Your independence is not your greatest strength. It is the oldest wound you have, and you have spent your whole life calling it a strength so you never had to look at it. The most reliable person in any room is usually the one quietly falling apart in private. And the cruel part is, they have trained everyone around them to never notice. Look at the most dependable people in your life, or just look in the mirror. It's always the same kind of person, the rock of the family, the capable older sibling, the one who carries everything and never drops a single ball. And when their own world starts to crack, they don't scream, they don't call for backup, and they definitely don't reach out. They just go quiet. They disappear into themselves, working twice as hard to hide the damage while telling everyone they're fine and they've got it handled. They smile through the exhaustion, they organize everyone else's mess, and they carry this quiet resentment that nobody notices they're the one going under. In a moment, I'm going to show you the invisible prison that got built around you when you were a child, and why your adult brain now treats a simple request for help like a threat to your survival. I'll show you why opening your mouth to say "I can't do this on my own" sets off a wave of shame and panic in your chest. Because what you've called your strength for decades, your self-reliance, your resilience, it isn't a badge of honor. It's a defense mechanism, one built to protect a kid who learned far too early that the world wasn't safe to lean on. By the end of this, you'll understand the exact quiet moments in your childhood that taught your mind to treat exhaustion as normal. We'll look at the real biological cost this hyper-independence takes on your body every single day. And I'll give you the one shift you need to finally put down the weight you were never meant to carry alone. If you've spent your life being praised for being the mature one, the easy one, the kid who never caused trouble, what you're about to hear might feel uncomfortable. But it's the wake-up call your mind has been asking for. So let's start with the person everyone relies on. From the outside, your life looks like a masterclass in having it together. You're the one who gets things done, the coworker who fixes everyone else's mess, the person crisis falls on, who handles it without breaking a sweat. People look at you and see something unbreakable. They say things like, "I don't know how you do it all," or "You're the strongest person I know." And for a long time, you wore that praise like armor. You started to believe your worth was tied to how useful you are, that you only matter as long as you're solving something, fixing something, easing someone else's load. What they don't see is what it costs to keep that going. Every day you wake up with an invisible checklist running, carrying a mental load that really belongs to 3 people. You read everyone's needs before they say them. You manage their moods. You fix their mistakes before they even notice. You've gotten so good at hiding your own bad days and your own fear, because some part of you believes that if you slip even once, the whole thing collapses. But here's the part nobody warns you about. What happens when the weight finally gets too heavy? There's a name for it. Neuroscientists call it allostatic load. It's the wear and tear that piles up on your brain and body when stress never switches off. When you refuse to share the weight, your body keeps pumping out cortisol and adrenaline just to keep you upright. You get stuck in a low hum of fight or flight that never ends. Your sleep gets thin. Your muscles stay tight. Your body is running a race with no finish line, and the engine is starting to smoke. And then the crisis hits. Your money, your health, your energy, all of it drained. And instead of reaching out, your mind does something strange. It locks down. It cuts the wire to your own distress signal. Picture a sinking ship where the captain, instead of calling for rescue, smashes the radio with a hammer, bolts the doors, and starts bailing out the ocean with a teacup until the water closes over his head. That's what you do every time you hide a struggle, wave off a helping hand, or tell someone you're fine when you're not. You'd rather go down alone than be saved. So why would a brain work against its own survival like that? For that, we go back to where it started. This didn't show up the day you turned 30. It was built into you as a child, especially if you grew up in the late 1980s or 90s. A lot of you were latchkey kids. You came home to an empty house, let yourself in, made your own snack, did your homework with nobody watching, and figured out how to keep yourself company for hours. But it goes deeper than being left alone. You were parentified. You looked at the adults around you, and you sensed, without anyone saying it, that they were running on empty. Maybe there was a hard divorce. Maybe somebody was working 3 jobs. Maybe a parent was fighting their own demons, or a sibling was pulling all the attention. And your young brain made a fast, brilliant calculation. You saw there was no room in that house for your tears or your needs. You saw the adults were already drowning, and you decided you would not be one more weight pulling them down. So you made a silent deal. You'd be invisible. Easy. No trouble at all. You turned your own distress signal off to keep the peace. When you scraped your knee, you cleaned it yourself. When the dark scared you, you made yourself stop crying. When school overwhelmed you, you handled it alone. And every time, the adults praised you. They told people how mature you were, how independent, how you never needed a thing. And to a young mind, that praise was a drug. Your brain wrote it straight into the code. Being loved and being safe means having no needs. Here's where the survival trick turns into a lifelong trap. As you grew up, that childhood armor hardened. Your brain quietly filed vulnerability under the same heading as danger. So now, when a friend offers to help you move, or a partner offers to cover the bills for a month, or a coworker offers to take something off your plate, the logical part of you knows it makes sense to say yes. But something older underneath sounds the alarm. It tells you that leaning on anyone is a trap, because if you depend on them, they'll leave, or let you down, or use it against you later. I used to think my own self-reliance was a sign I was smart and strong. I told myself I just had higher standards, that I liked doing things my way. But when I finally started pulling the layers back, the truth was humbling. My independence wasn't strength. It was an old wound I never healed. It was a quiet refusal to trust that other people were safe. It was a fear of being close. Wearing the costume of a superpower, when you turn down help, you're not being strong. You're staying on guard. You're trying to control everything around you because some part of you is still the scared kid who decided nobody was coming. You reject people before they can reject you. You refuse to need anyone, so no one ever gets the power to leave. It's a lonely way to live, walking through the world with your guard welded up, treating every kind offer not as a gift, but as a debt you'll have to repay with interest. So, if you see yourself in this, if you're the one always saving everybody while you quietly slip under, I need you to stop for a second and look at your own mind differently. This isn't a flaw. You're not broken, or cold, or incapable of love. This was the smartest thing a frightened child could have built to stay safe in a world that felt like it could tip over. Your self-reliance was a shield, and it protected a kid who had to grow up way too fast. It kept you alive. But you are not that child anymore. You're not trapped in that empty house, carrying weight that was never yours. You're an adult now, and the same armor that once saved you is slowly smothering you. Healing doesn't mean dropping your guard overnight or making yourself helpless. It starts with one small, brave shift. It starts the moment you realize that asking for help is not weakness. It's courage. When you let someone carry the box with you, share the load, or just sit with you on a bad night, you're not a burden. You're giving them the gift of seeing the real you and letting them love you for who you are instead of what you can do for them. You don't have to earn the right to exist by being useful. Your worth was never a transaction. So let's sit with the hard question you've been dodging for years. If you keep running this race alone until your body gives out and there's nothing left in the tank, what kind of life are you actually building? Who are you really protecting behind that wall? Are you safe in there? Or are you just very, very alone? If someone you loved was drowning in silence, you'd be in the water in a heartbeat. You wouldn't call them weak. You wouldn't think less of them for needing your hand. So why won't you give yourself that same mercy? And this is only the first piece of it. In the next video, I'm going to walk you through the actual tools to take this armor apart, bring those stress levels down, and let support in without the fear of getting hurt. I'll also show you a manipulation tactic that toxic people use specifically on hyper-independent adults, and how to shut it down before they drain you. You don't want to miss that one. Subscribe now, because the next video opens the door your inner child has been waiting on, and you don't want to be left behind when we get there.